Hello and welcome to the Kloop, the first episode of our strategic procurement series. My name is Daniela CEO. I am the CEO and co-founder of Kloopify. But prior to starting this AI procure tech company, I was in your shoes. I was a procurement buyer, leading categories through mergers and acquisitions, driving cost savings, building relationships with business units, you name it. And so what we want to do today and throughout this series here at in the Kloop is we want to highlight how procurement has continued to evolve. Technology is changing so rapidly with the advancements of AI. And I know myself, I'm overwhelmed. And there's new things coming out, what feels like every day. Our supply chains are more uncertain than ever. And yet we are still being asked to deliver on the value that our procurement officers are asking us to do and the business units are expecting us to deliver on. So a little background on why we started this series and who we are. So Kloopify entered the market with sustainability as a top priority in 2022. Because let's be honest, that's what every board member was talking about and what every chief procurement officer was talking about. And just like procurement's needs have evolved, so have we at Kloopify. We've taken this SKU level engine that was focused on sustainability and we've evolved and enhanced it now with costing data. So that same engine that looks at its components, looks at the parts, helps you understand what's driving impact is now being evolved and enhanced to tell you what's driving cost. And with the power of AI and our best in class database, we're now giving teams the intelligence to do more than just sustainability. So that procurement professionals, we can see what's coming and do something about it before it even hits our bottom line. So in this series, what should you expect? Well, we're going to be unpacking some of what we're hearing in the field, whether that's agents and AI, what investors are looking for, what CPOs are asking of their teams now, what business units are requiring of us to deliver and the value that we need to bring. We're going to bring the best in class speakers from around the world to give their perspectives and add to this topic around strategic procurement. But today, we're just going to kick it off by talking about Kloopify, our journey, the incredible leadership team that we've put together that's world-renowned experts that are here to deliver value for procurement by procurement. And so without further ado, I want to introduce a gentleman that I call Nacho. But if you hear me calling him Nacho, because that is the nickname for Ignacio. And so Ignacio, Nacho, maybe you can give a little bit of background on yourself. What's the problem we've identified and really what led us to create this tool?
Sure thing, Daniela. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Ignacio, and I'm co-founder of Kloopify. Also, my background is in engineering. I'm engineering by training. I also had the opportunity to work in technologies like 3D printing, solar, battery system for electric vehicles as a supplier of raw materials for companies all over the world. And I was doing this work for many years. I was always about introducing innovation into industry where there was no playbook, there was a lot of skepticism, there was no revenue, so just a lot of potential. Imagine China, 2018, when it was the only place in the world where you had any kind of electric vehicle was electric buses. But anyway, that's the kind of challenge that I always faced. It was always about uh, showing that this this new technology made sense both from the sustainability point of view, but also from the financial economical point of view. So overcoming that skepticism, and proving both the environmental case and the business case side by side. So that's the mindset that we are bringing to Kloopify, and that's where Danielle and I we decided to launch this venture,
Yeah.
focusing on procurement.
Yeah. And I think that combination is what makes our approach in procurement so different because we're looking at a SKU by SKU level. We're taking a bottoms up approach, but we're also bringing together kind of two things that have historically worked in silos, right? So, can you talk to me and maybe help our listeners understand what led us to create this platform? What led us to create Kloopify and focus on procurement and build it for procurement by procurement?
Yeah, we both saw that procurement had a huge visibility gap. You can think of what procurement sees in a way is kind of the tree, but all the root system is underground. So we wanted to give procurement better tools to negotiate better, to reduce emission, to respond to price hikes, to plan for a lot of geopolitical disruption. Think about in the recent years from people forget, but cheap the chip shortages, the pandemic. I mean, there's so many that happens to any procurement people all the time. So we wanted to give them these tools to bring visibility, not just to show them how they spend the money, what they spend, but what was behind it, what was driving these costs and also impact. So when a procurement professional is facing a 30% price increase, they have very little way of determining where this is coming from. Why should I accept this? So that's our focus, and we wanted to validate this information and also bring a lot of the system thinking that we initially acquired through looking at impact. And we can go a little bit deeper into this, but essentially give procurement teams the leverage that they need, and also save them time and increase their credibility. We saw some of the shortcomings, well, many shortcomings on dashboards that procurement people also use. So and also on the side of impact was very similar, um, dashboards that are focused on reporting and not on
Yeah.
decision making, not on what should I do now. The conditions have changed. The conditions will be changing because there's a new policy or whatever. So that is our focus really on most on supporting decision making.
I love that you talk about that, and that you were taking this kind of dashboard centric view of procurement that we've seen in historical spend analytic solutions that, as you mentioned, they give you visibility into your spends, but they're not action oriented intelligence, right? And so what we're really doing is we're giving buyers the power to see what's coming and what to do about it, and how to manage things like a tariff, like a labor increase, like a material cost going up or down. And I can tell you from experience, right? I mentioned this in my introduction. I was a procurement professional, so I know firsthand what it's like to have a supplier, beep, 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 dial you up and say, hey, I need a price increase because the cost of this material has gone up, or because the cost of labor has gone up. And what would I do? Well, I'd go on the internet and I'd Google and I'd see and labor statistics. Hey, did labor rates go up? And I'd go to that commodity website, the database that we may be subscribed to see, has the price of that commodity gone up? But then I would be kind of stuck because I wouldn't know how to pull it back together into, well, I'm buying this product or this, widget from that supplier. How does this all fit together? And I'd go in Excel and I'd kind of put some things together. Or if we were really lucky, we'd get to kind of use a consultant that would be able to come in and create some sort of like cost plus model and give you kind of rough framework of saying, well, if you bought a cardboard box, this is what a cardboard box typically costs. But I didn't just buy a cardboard box. I bought a very specific one that had very specific bill of materials, that had very specific requirements. And so it was almost like not good enough for what we were doing and the job that we needed to do. And so, from a costing perspective, that's really clear. And then we saw that also from a sustainability perspective, right? We had tools that, to your point, were reporting tools that were very much focused on giving you top down visibility. But, we don't buy companies, we buy goods and services. And so, you need to kind of blend these two views together. That same kind of if you've been around the kind of Kloopify journey, you've heard me say that before from a lens of sustainability, but it's that same thing from a lens of costing. We don't just buy a random circuit breaker. No, we buy a Schneider electric circuit breaker with these specs, with this bill of material. So we need to get down to the individual SKUs and bill and kind of individual products that we buy.
Yeah.
And so when people tell us that, oh, you've let go of sustainability. No, really what we've done is we've brought these two worlds together, and we've enhanced our solution to focus on the immediate needs of procurement professionals today. I think we saw a research paper from the Hackett Group that talked about how, the priorities of procurement leaders have evolved. And in 2025, with so much market volatility, really being able to be strategic business leaders to drive cost savings and fight inflationary price increases are some of the top priorities for tactical business kind of leaders today.
Yeah, no, Daniela, and it's also, I guess it would be also fair to say that, for us at Kloopify, we would not be here had we not gone through the sustainability journey that we did, and actually, we are marrying these two approaches because they have a lot of things in common. So we built the engine initially to break down every SKU to its components, tracing materials, manufacturing process, energy, transportation, everything. We broke everything down, because we saw that in order to make an impact, we needed to understand not just the global way that companies buy, but the SKU level analysis as well. So all of that was extremely useful for the cost analysis that we expanded to, and we created this intelligent platform on. And so it's basically the same approach, the same data, but now we use it for cost, for financing, for risk management, for forecasting, and marrying these two approaches using a lot of this same tool set. We look at bill of materials, we look at energy usage, we look at a lot of the same things. So we like to say that if you've done an LCA, a process LCA, you already done maybe more than half of the work that you need for a detailed cost analysis. So it's really, really
Yeah.
complementary.
Nacho, if I can add something here, is that you hit on a good point around what we bring to the table, right? So not only do we bring the engine to kind of take a SKU and give you its subcomponents, but we're also bringing to the table the data that allows for that intelligence to be built on top of, right? So we're bringing commodity data. If you don't have a bill of materials, we're leveraging AI to create AI led bill of materials. We bring in supplier specific data for filing data to make it, because it's not just cost plus, it's cost plus the fact that your supplier maybe spent a lot on R&D and you want to incorporate that, or on your intellectual property, and that matters to the costing and to the price of what you're paying. So we're bringing all of that information to the table, and we're keeping it up to date, because nothing is more frustrating than having something turn out of date and you're going to a supplier and you're saying this is the cost of what it is, and they're looking at you and saying that's aluminum prices for 2021. Like, that's not even close to what we pay in 2025. So our job isn't just to give you the visibility, but to keep it up to date, and that kind of the driving factors of cost up to date, so that you can come into these conversations with suppliers with strength, with data, and you can negotiate from a place of facts instead of a place of assumptions.
I wanted to say something about the scalability of all this process, because when we do this Q level analysis, um, one of the main challenges that you face both on the sustainability side and on the cost analysis side, on the should cost analysis side, is how are you going to scale this up to the thousands of SKUs that I buy? So
Mhm.
again, the similarities are striking. You would not do a process based LCA for every item that you buy. You need to be strategic about it. But what we managed to do here, and really bring something new and innovative to the market, is this blend of both top down and bottoms up approach in the way that we
Yeah.
do our should cost modeling, bringing the granularity that you need and maybe the specificity to the supplier and the industry that you're buying from, uh, but also here's what's going on at a high level. here's what they, this is how tariffs are going to affect your the cost of this industry. This is how labor rates in Indonesia is going to affect not just for the industry, for you, the procurement professional, and what is this means for your company, for your buy space, and actually for your bonus. So it's actually
For your
really
entire supply chain.
right,
For your entire
it,
supply chain.
it's
Yeah.
really that marrying of the top down and the bottom up approach that makes it scalable and gives you the big picture, but the detailed picture that different personas in the organization have different interests. Maybe the CPO is interested in the big picture, and I want to achieve my corporate goals, but the people on the front lines, they want to be able to negotiate better with their suppliers. They want to be informed about it. They want to have leverage. They want to
Yeah.
work as partners with them. So
Yeah. They want to build from a place of trust and kind of be able to work on a foundation of um, kind of mutual respect and mutual truth. And when you have data and you're starting from a place of we both understand what is driving cost, the supplier relationship changes, right? The engagement that you have with your suppliers changes because it's not about hitting your suppliers over the head and saying I need the lowest price, because sometimes quality matters more, delivery and all of these other things matter, but now you're building that foundation of communication on a base of mutual truth and a base of trust. And so these teams and our people and our procurement leaders are going to be able to really evolve from reactive to many times proactive by being able to run scenarios, forecast, see what these disruptions could do to their supply chain before they even happen. And so you're going to create really strong business continuity plans. And the exciting part is that we've leveraged the power of AI and we've baked it into our solution so that you are not just using AI as a silver bullet, I'm just going to throw it at everything, but we've really applied it to make it scalable, to make our solution scalable, to bring in more data, to give you intelligence so that, hey, your CPO is saying we need to find how to get our baseline back to, pre-pandemic pricing because we haven't recovered from those inflationary price increases. And now you can ask Kloopify these questions like, where should I focus in order to find these inflationary price increases? Because maybe when we were in the pandemic, and this is an example from my time at DuPont, I was told a wonderful story by a gentleman named Shelley Stewart. Shelley Stewart is a figurehead in the procurement industry. If you don't follow him, if you don't know him, please go check him out. He's on LinkedIn. But anyways, long story short, Shelley told me about how you know, every supplier called Shelly up when there was an increase in the price of oil, right? They said, Shelly, the oil prices have gone up. I need to give you a pass-through cost because, I can't afford this. And so your price is going to increase. And then time went on and the price of oil went down again. How many suppliers called him and said, Shelly, you get a savings? None. None. No suppliers calling you up saying, hey, now here's a savings opportunity because the price of oil, aluminum, name a commodity, insert any commodity in there, has gone down. And so Shelly had to hire consultants, build an entire team to try to identify where in his supply chain either he bought oil or what products used a lot of oil. And so this kind of entire activity took months to do, but the results were incredible. They delivered over $100 million of cost savings. Now imagine if you had Kloopify, because we give you that bottoms up analysis and that top down analysis, and we bring those two things together, you now have a way to say, okay, identify all of the areas and all of the commodities and all the products that use oil and where I buy oil, and because the prices of oil have gone down, what should my cost savings look like? And what suppliers should I go engage because of this? And how can I fight some of these inflationary price increases? Right. And so I think there's, this notion of there's so much intelligence. And this is another way that we're leveraging AI to give you that level of intelligence, but make it specific for procurement by procurement. Because if you I'm so glad AI can now create a video where voice and face and all of these things all match together. But is that going to help me make my bonus? That's really cool technology, but is that going to help me deliver on my goals as a procurement professional? So we've really taken the power of AI and married it with procurement and the need of procurement. And so maybe Nacho, we can talk about some of the use cases that even you've seen. I just mentioned one about, inflationary price increases, but I know that that you've talked to, and I've talked to buyers who are dealing a lot with kind of this tariff scenario, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. You obviously have a situation in the market right now where tariffs is the talk of the day or talk of the week, and you can see clearly that companies are gonna be affected by it. Not only through what they buy directly and they import from other countries, but what your suppliers or our suppliers uh, purchased, in other countries as well. So what you find is this tariff situation is affecting also, say, from the U.S. perspective, companies that manufacture their goods in the U.S. but import some of their goods from other countries. So we had an example of a customer buying a pump, making a pump here. They're buying the pump from a U.S. supplier, American supplier, but they called the customer and said we need a 30% price increase on the pump because our stainless steel comes from China, and there's a new tariffs well, and then we there's no getting around this. So, but anyway, we did our analysis for the customer. We looked at both the industry and the specifics of the cost structure of this industry. We look at the bill of materials for this specific pump and for the pumps like this in the market, and determine, well, this is the actual justifiable increase. It's more than 5%, not really 30% pass through. But again, you would not be able to do that. Our customer and the procurement professional would not be able to do that without that kind of information. So
Yeah,
that's really empowering. I mean, it builds towards the goals of the organization. It puts the professional in a much better position. It's a win-win for the organization, but also it brings transparency to the conversation. It will create a more healthy relationship between buyers and sellers.
absolutely. And replace tariff in that example with anything, right? 2025, we're talking
That's
about
exactly
tariffs,
right.
but replace it with a commodity price, replace it with a labor price, replace it with kind of any type of change or increase. And so, thank you, Nacho, for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation. Listen, this is the first episode. We're just laying the foundation of the types of conversations and the things that we're going to be talking about throughout this series. Next, we'll dive into negotiation tactics, AI agents, what investors are looking for, what the CPOs are asking, how this is playing out with chief financial officers and the role of procurement with finance and the board. And so if you're tired of talking about dashboards and you want to take action and you want to kind of dissect some of the stuff that's being flown at us in all kinds of directions, make sure you stay tuned to the series. Follow us along, but please send us your questions. What is the thing that's keeping you up at night? What is it that your bosses and even that you are asking your teams to do so that we can make this a very productive 15, 25, 30 minutes of your day? Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.